Hello there, good evening and welcome to News Night here on Metro Television. My name is Desmond Okrekudan. So coming up in this bulletin. Now, fast food eatery Mawako apologizes to customers of suspected food poisoning and pays the medical bills of hospitalized customers after the Food and Drugs Authority shut down their East Legon branch. We will speak to some of the affected persons. And the government gives a strong conviction that Ghana would not return to the International Monetary Fund despite the country's current economic woes. And the Ghana Police Service commences investigations into the death of a 40-year-old man and his wife and their 14-year-old son at Enyan Aborinum at the Ejumako Enyan Esiam district in the central region. We'll bring you details on that. And on the international front, scores of striking workers picket, chant protest songs, bend ties and block roads with cement blocks and debris as police kept close watch over inadequate wages. And we are streaming live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana and also on DSTV channel 277. Now let's settle for the details to our first story. And fast food eatery Mawako has apologized to customers of suspected food poisoning. The company has also paid the medical bills of hospitalized customers after the Food and Drugs Authority shut down their East Legon branch. We will hear from the public relations officer of the fast food eatery, but first, my colleague Shadrach Odamejari spoke to a victim.
We ordered 2 packs of jollof from the East Legon branch, like you said, on Saturday evening around 9 p.m. The food got here around 9 p.m. My family, myself, my husband, and my 2 little boys. And we were okay that evening until dawn when my husband started running. And it was only him, so we thought it was nothing until around 10 a.m. when my 5-year-old started complaining about tummy aches too, and vomiting, running. And a few minutes later, I joined in. Luckily, our 1-year-old, almost 2-year-old, didn't show any major symptoms, but the rest of us, we were having a very hard time. At first, we thought it was just tummy ache. We didn't think about the food. So we got some medication. It wasn't going well. So later in the afternoon on Sunday, we went to Clinic Pharma Hospital at School Junction. And upon getting there, the doctor just told us, after we mentioned what we ate the previous night, that 2 other families had been there with the same symptoms, so it's definitely food poisoning. Once we got home, everything got worse again. The whole night, we couldn't sleep, body pains, headaches, cramping, tummy aches, vomiting, all sorts of symptoms, especially my 5-year-old. He had the hardest time. And so far, I can say that we have spent about 1,200, yes, close to 1,200 cedis on drugs, because the first day alone, we spent about 700 there. Lots of drugs, you can see our drugs there. Lots of drips, lots of discomforts. We just couldn't sleep. The body pains, headaches, it was serious. And my boy, I thought I was going to lose this one because he even still vomited this morning. He hasn't healed. We are doing a bit better, but he has grown lean actually. I am not going to buy from them anymore. I'm even scared of buying any food at all from outside.
She ordered for a food worth 90 cedis, and then she has to spend over 1,000 cedis, almost 1,200 cedis on drugs and medications because she has suffered food poisoning. So this is what she got after ordering the 90 cedis worth of food. Angela had to resort to the services of her mom, who had to travel from Ho in the Volta region to come lend a helping hand. She is just keeping her fingers crossed and hopes to regain her health and that of her family in the coming days. From Angela's home, I drove through town to possibly find other victims. Just close to the ANC Mall in East Legon, I met Marie and Antoinette, who had just been discharged from the hospital. Speaking off record, they explained how they have spent over 3,000 cedis on medications, with their other colleague still receiving treatment at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Mohammed Amin Lamte is the PRO of Mawako Food Services.
So far, we think that we are on course, and I want to use your platform to apologize sincerely to our customers. There are customers who bought the food, but they were not affected. Nothing happened to them. But there are those who ate the food with family members. Only one person was affected. So it tells you that we have to apologize to them. We have accepted that something did happen. Now we are all looking forward, how can we resolve the issue? All the victims who are currently at the hospital, we are praying that God will give them a quick and speedy recovery. Those who have been discharged, we hope that their health and their condition will be stable. And we're hoping that we continue to serve Ghanaians as we always do.
This is the East Legon branch of Mawako Fast Food Services. This is where the issue about the food poisoning actually happened. Evidently, no work going on at this branch. You can see workers here changed into their various outfits. Let me be quick to add that right in front of their entrance, there is a closed inscription and another closure order from the Food and Drugs Authority. Even though officials of the restaurant have begun visiting and footing medical bills of some affected persons, the trolling on social media will not stop. And just when I thought Angela's family was halfway through the journey of recovery, she reached out with the video of her son, whose situation has started getting worse. A price she and other families would have to pay. Shadrach Odame Ejari, Metro News, Accra.
Meanwhile, the Food and Drugs Authority has explained their reason for not shutting down other branches of the food eatery apart from the East Legon branch. Speaking to Metro News, Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs Joseph Yalbene further called on the citizenry not to compromise on their health, especially consumables, adding that patrons must pay attention to hygienic conditions of eateries.
Close down the East Legon, the Abelenke, and the branches of Mawako as part of our ongoing investigation into the alleged or suspected food poisoning. The team also went to the lab branch based on what was observed and what we know as part of their operations. The relationship and interactions between the branch or among the branches have led us to close down those other places to enable that us continue on them. Because all the branches that have been closed, we visited the place. Basically, it is going to be microbial, and the processes for microbial analysis take some time. We need to do some culture and other things. It takes some time, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Before you may get your results. So we need to be patient and wait for the results. It will take us some time. We are talking of about 7 days. If food is supposed to be served warm, please ensure that the food that you are served is warm. If food is supposed to be cold, ensure that the food that you are taking is cold. Don't compromise on that. Because if you put a food that is supposed to be served and eaten warm, and put it down for a while and it gets cooled, you don't know what happens to it microbially, and you might be having problems for yourself. Again, what happens is that some people would buy food. I'm speaking generally. The food will serve warm. The person will take the food away. It will take some hours. In some cases, it will get cold. You will never ever warm it and eat it. It is not good for your health. So we are saying that as patrons, as people who want to eat, when you are going to eat, look where you are, check exactly where you are going to eat from, ensure that your place is well or okay for you, look out for the FDA permit, and then to the operators. We are saying that food can easily be a vehicle for affecting the health and safety of people. So if you are in that business, ensure that your practices are such that food safety is assured. Like I said, you go out there to buy your ingredients, something that is supposed to be frozen or something that is supposed to be kept in the refrigerator. You come and put it down in the open in the kitchen, hours before you remember that it's supposed to be kept in the fridge. By the time you remember and put it in the fridge, something.
Away from that, let's head to the central region where the Ghana Police Service in the Ejumako district has commenced investigations into the death of a 40-year-old fetish priest, his wife and their 14-year-old son. Reports say the man shot himself after the dastardly act at Enyan Abowinum in the Ejumako Enyan Esiam district of the central region. There's more in the following report.
40-year-old fetish priest Kwesi Tando allegedly shot himself, his wife, and 14-year-old son dead at Enyan Abowinum in the Ejumako Enyan Esiam district of the central region. The incident is said to have happened at midnight on Wednesday, May 11, 2020. The couple, according to report, have been married for 18 years and have been having marital issues for some time now. Eyewitnesses say a gunshot was heard in the house of the fetish priest and called on the police. The brother and sister of the deceased wife gave their accounts.
I came home tired and was trying to find something to eat when my brother knocked on the door and told me that my sister and her husband were in a heated argument. He informed me that my in-law had picked up a gun and locked the family indoor. So I also went to another in-law of mine to borrow his gun to save my sister. When I got to their house, I met the police. They told me that my sister, one child, and her husband are dead.
What them ana sister biwaha ofena ekuoba abada na wo sister wa hin na o sister o shedem na o say amu sola na asema asi.
I was in my house when someone came to inform me that my in-law had locked himself and his family in their house. I went with her to find out that no one can enter the house. We called the police and waited for them to come, but only 2 policemen showed up. They soon realized that they could not handle the situation, so they called for reinforcement. When the reinforcement arrived, they sounded a warning shot. That was when we also heard a gunshot from the room.
According to the Ejumako District Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Stephen Tete, the police rushed to the scene after they received the information, and upon getting there, overheard the fetish priest say he was even waiting for the police. As they were using their means to rescue the family, they heard another gunshot and broke into the house to see the wife together with the son and the husband lying on the ground dead.
At the scene, we realized that this man, the man has shot himself in the head, and one of the sons, who is about 40 years. So the man and the son died. But there were other 3 children. The first son, who is about 17 years, had locked the other younger children, one 9 years and one 6, in a room, and used a chair to place the place, so the man couldn't get access to them. So after he had killed this, and he realized that the police were pressing on, when the boy said he even heard the father sharpen cutlass. We're thinking that maybe from there, maybe he might he wanted to use the cutlass to either butcher them. So this is what happened. But luckily, we removed the body from the place, and when we came to the hospital to check on the wife who was receiving treatment, he too was.
And now the Abossey-Okai Spare Parts Dealers Association says majority of its members are in support of the plan by the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council to relocate them to Afenya. This is contrary to the position by a group describing itself as the National Concerned Spare Parts Dealers Association, who say they will insist or resist any attempt by the government to relocate them. Confrontation ensued between two parties, sharply divided over a proposed relocation of Abossey-Okai Spare Parts Dealers to Afenya. One of the factions are up in arms with the Regional Coordinating Council's relocation plan and hence arrived at the scene to disrupt a press conference by the other party. The police, who were later called in, seized one of the leaders of the National Concerned Spare Parts Dealers Association in a bid to restore calm. A co-chairman of the Abossey-Okai Spare Part Dealers, Clement Boateng, at the press conference said most of its members are for the relocation. According to him, they will support the RCC and ensure the relocation plan reaches its logical conclusion.
Let the public know the true state of affairs regarding the relocation of our business to a more convenient location. And that's at November last year that we stopped the registration. Over 2,500 people had expressed interest in the project and had registered their names. So we are surprised that these shop owners, because they don't have balls within them, will hide behind this so-called association called National Concerned Spare Parts Dealers Association to kick against this laudable project.
He also explained that the issue of relocation has been on the drawing board for over 30 years, as their predecessors had all appealed to successive governments to relocate them.
That this issue of relocation has been on the drawing board for over 30 years. For over 30 years now, as our predecessors had all appealed to successive governments on this issue.
Meanwhile, a leader from the concerned National Association of Abossey-Okai Spare Parts Dealers, Richard Obing, who was seized for invading the press conference after his release, spoke to Metro News.
When I came over, or when they saw me come in, I was threatening to them because I've been at the office for the past 14 years with them. So they know what I can do. Me, I'm the type, if you tell me it's black, it's black. If it is white, it's white. What they told us was that they were acquiring the land for our descendants for 40, 50 years to come. But right now, they are twisting the whole issue. So they knew what they are doing is not right. And for them to see me here, they knew something else is going to happen. That's why they called police on me.
Some of the spare parts dealers also spoke on the happenings.
We are showing them that we are the custodians of Abossey-Okai. I've been here 40 years now. They have not got even a single block. They have not erected a block in Abossey-Okai.
And now to some other stories. The Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana has called off its strike, which has been enforced since late last month. Announcing this at a press conference in Accra today, CLOGSAG said a decision to step down from the industrial action followed a decision taken by its National Executive Council after an agreement was reached with government over the payment of their demanded allowances.
The 3-week-old industrial action to push for the payment of the 20% neutrality allowance agreed in January this year disrupted public services across the country. According to the Executive Secretary of CLOGSAG, Isaac Bampo Addo, the rationale to step down the industrial action was due to an agreement reached by the association and government. According to him, the Ministry of Finance has directed the Controller and Accounts General to effect payment payment of the agreed allowance following a meeting on May 12, 2022. He says all members of the association are expected to resume work on Monday, May 16, 2022.
The rationale to step down the industrial action was based on the fact that the demand for the Ministry of Finance to direct the Controller and Accountant General to effect payment of the agreed allowance has been met on 11th May 2022. By this decision, the strike has been called off. All GLOSAG members should report back to work by Monday, 16th May 2022.
He noted that their decision to call off the strike is just a stoppage measure. He vowed the association will resume its industrial action in full force if payment delays.
This is a game. It's a game. We are on half time. They are going to their drawing board to strategize. We are also going to our drawing board to strategize. And we don't give our game plan out. Spectators can make all the noise, but you, the technical man, you keep to your game plan. So we are keeping to our game plan.
The public will still have to deal with the absence of civil servants at various offices until Monday, the 16th of May, 2022. Ernestina Afake, Metro News, Accra.
You're still watching News Tonight here on Metro Television. Now to some other stories. And the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says Ghana is committed to managing its debt without the assistance from the International Monetary Fund. According to him, measures put in place by government will revive the economy. Ghana's total public debt, which stood at about 77% of its gross domestic product at the end of 2021, according to the government data, has pushed the country to the brink of crisis. The government in March announced measures to improve the economy and spending cuts to tackle inflation, reduce the public deficit, restore a depreciating local currency, and reassure investors. But it has consistently refused to ask the International Monetary Fund for a bailout. At a briefing here in Accra, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta admitted Ghana is not out of the woods yet, but insisted the country wants to return to the IMF.
But we have committed, as you know, to not going back to the fund because in terms of intervention of policy, we are right there, and the fund notes that we are completely in the right direction. And so the issue is validating the program that we have put in place, and then, in my view, supporting us to find alternative ways of financing or refinancing our debt, reprofiling it without needing to be with the fund. And I think there's general acknowledgement that should be thought of as the first port of call, and we are doing it.
The Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta attributed the country's rising inflation to factors beyond the government's control. Meanwhile, speaking of food crisis, the minister revealed that the Africa Development Bank is looking to inject some $1.5 billion in the country to deal with food crisis.
The Africa Development Bank itself is looking through a 1.5 billion sort of intervention in the food crisis because by the very nature of what is happening now, we are losing about 30 million tons of food that come, and maybe 2 million tons of fertilizer, which will lead to about 20-30% reduction in productivity. So we have to find a way to get fertilizer to our people and also resources so that we've been very lucky with the rains, so we can mobilize and store to be able. Fortunately, a lot of warehouses were built through the SDI project, and that's what we'll begin to look at to fund it.
Ghana will be hosting the 2022 annual general meeting of the African Development Bank at the Accra International Conference Center from 23rd to 27th May 2022. Meanwhile, Ken Oforiatta has advised a relook at the controversial Ejapa royalties agreement instead of abandoning it. The minister at a press briefing said the deal must be taken through the appropriate process in order to make it work because it could reduce the country's debt exposure.
Question of whether monetization of mineral royalties or listing of the company is bad or good. You know, it is good because that is how you raise resources. The question is the process of doing that. If we have a problem with the process, let's articulate it, let's cure it, but let's not drop, you know, something that would be good for us and reduce our debt exposure. You know, so those are two very different questions. How best to do it, as opposed to don't do it. And so my mind is still there. I know the president has mentioned something about that going through the AG and Parliament again to do that. But it's not something that I think is an asset to the country that one needs to drop. You need to examine all your equity and debt positions and make the best choice for the country, not a fleeting instances. We would never have done senior high school if we listened to other people. That's 400,000 lives now, you know, that have a chance to do something. We would have stopped short at e-levy because of the noise, and suddenly we have a tax handle that will be phenomenally important for the country. So we need to look at that.
Now let's get onto the phone lines and speak to the Dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business, Professor John Gache, for more on this. Good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us here on News Night. You've heard the Finance Minister. Do you think that Ghana can really survive with these economic situations as, we are trying not to go to the IMF for a bailout?
Well, it's a choice for the government to decide not to go to IMF. It is also another thing for the government to demonstrate that it has ability to take us from the difficulty that they have plunged the country's economy into. It doesn't sound like we have what is needed to showcase a resolution to the problems of the country. And if you look at the nature of our debts, it needs drastic measures, and we can't see those drastic decisions being made regarding the debt structure of our country. And that is not resonating well. So it's not a question of whether you want to go to IMF or you want to do something else. In the beginning, they told us the answer is e-levy. So I believe this speech is an indication that the e-levy, after all, is not the resolution of the problem, but something more drastic needed to be done.
Something more drastic. What do you suggest?
Well, if you are in a situation where your commitment to external debt is in the region of about 65 to 70%, and you are not producing forests through export and all those things, or you are not having robust revenue for which you can exchange to pay those debts, there is eminent difficulty in terms of repayment. So that is the clear picture. If you are in a situation where inflation is engulfing you, and despite the fact that the inflation in Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and other countries are much lesser than yours, you claim that because inflation in the UK and the US have got to a point that they are higher than the 30 years ago, then it means you have no solution for the problems. When you are talking about the price of okra escalating, the price of product that we have in the country, wheat, you talk about condo, and you talk about watermelon. If those prices are going up and you say that it's beyond you, then it means that we are not ready for the resolution of the problem.
Okay. Hello, Prof. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, great. He also talked about the review of the Ejapa royalties. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it is something that the finance minister should not bring on the table, because the finance minister thinks that the resolution of this problem is just depleting all the resources of the country in the current period, without focusing on the fact that we have repayment obligations crystallizing hugely in 2025, when likely he will not be a finance minister. So these are the issues we are talking about. There are many bonds that will crystallize between 2025 to 2027. He will not be there to deal with those issues. And therefore, every step should be taken to reduce his appetite for mortgaging the resources of this country that could be used at the future time to resolve the problems of the country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor John Gachi, for talking to us here this evening. And so Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business, talking to us there. You're still watching News Tonight. We're taking a break. When we come back, we do some more stories. Please do stay. Welcome back. You're still watching News Tonight here on Metro Television. Now to some other stories. And the National Executive Committee of the People's National Convention has dismissed its 2020 flag bearer, David Apasera, and Chairman Moses Daniba from the party with immediate effect. The duo, who were previously suspended by the party after allegations of misconduct and embezzlement of funds, have finally been dismissed by the party.
According to the National Executive Committee, David Apesara and Moses Daniba have been on suspension since last year for misappropriating the party's resources during and after the 2020 general elections, a matter which ended up at an Accra High Court after the two filed a petition challenging their dismissal. The committee said the duo organized what they describe as illegal standing committee meetings which violated the party's constitution. Addressing the press conference, General Secretary Janet Nabla noted although the party need more hands to make amends in the 2024 elections, it will not tolerate any misconduct of existing members.
Consequently, National Executive Committee duly adopted the following, which are in full force and effect. A. That following their patent for breaching the constitution of the PNC, a behavior that has obviously disrupted the pursuit of our collective goals and derailed the progress of the party, the memberships of Mr. David Apasara and Moses Daniba have been terminated. This is in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution of the PNC.
She noted the party will take legal action against David Apesara and Moses Daniba should they continue to hold themselves as flag bearer and chairperson.
From now onwards, the PNC is poised to send institutions, media and other people to court. So we won't say anything. We will just let our lawyers sue that particular organization. Because we have spoken, we are tired, and we are now going to allow action to speak.
The acting leader and chairperson of the party, Balame Kankan, called on the party members to put their shoulders to the wheel in order to restore power from the New Patriotic Party.
I also heard our own people, our regional executive, to focus on their own constituency so that we can also win some seats at their various regions.
The first vice chairperson, Haja Ali, third vice chairperson, Omar Bukhari, national organizer Abu Nuhu, and 9 other executives have also been suspended for various offenses.
Now let's get on to the phone lines and speak to Mr. Apasera. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us here on Newsnight. You're sacked by your party, and you are refuting that. Who should we believe? Because Janet and her section of the members of the party are also quoting from the party's constitution.
Well, I don't know which party constitution they are quoting from, but she knows very well.
You have no.
Okay, so we'll get Mr. David Apasera back on the line. He is the 2020 flag bearer of the PNC, as he has been sacked by the party. We'll do some other stories and work the lines back to get Mr. David Apasera on. And the Supreme Court has dismissed the application by the embattled Asin North MP, and they actually prayed the court to overturn a ruling by the Cape Coast Appeals Court.
The Supreme Court, in the latest ruling delivered by Justice Jones Duche, noted the application as brought before it by the MP James Jachikwason lacks merit, hence the decision to dismiss the review, a decision by a 5-member panel at the Apex Court. The justices are Justice Nene Amegache, Professor Ni Ashikote, Justice Gertrude, and Justice Clement Jackson Ahunyoga. It will be recorded that after the Cape Coast High Court had ruled on the matter of dual citizenship against James Jachikwason earlier, to which the Asin North MP filed an appeal at the Cape Coast Appeals Court, but his appeal was thrown out. According to the Appeals Court, the MP, in his quest to overturn the decision.
Okay, so let's get back onto the phone lines and speak to Mr. David Apasera. Well, you were making a point about which of the two factions and the Constitution that we should accept.
Well, the truth about it is that the Constitution says it is only at the initiative of the national chairman or the leader or both, through the general secretary, that you can call a NEC meeting. And so no group of people can just get up and go and hold a meeting and say it is NEC. And that is what happened when they went to Kumasi. They went to Kumasi and held a meeting like that, and they said they had suspended us. Now, before they went to Kumasi, we had taken the General Secretary to the Disciplinary Committee. We wrote a petition to the Disciplinary Committee about her conduct, because ever since she was elected, she had tried to destroy the party, disorganize the party, divide and, the party ranks. And so we decided to do that. And the Disciplinary Committee met and recommended that she should be suspended. So we called a NEC. We called a NEC. We sent out letters, and then we announced the venue, and everybody who's a NEC member came. And then we held that meeting and then decided to suspend her. We had to approve the Disciplinary Committee report. Then she went to Kumasi and got, some of them said the former leader called them to come to Kumasi. A number of them told me that they were called by Dr. Mahama to come to Kumasi, and they were going to listen. They went to Kumasi, and from there they said it was a NEC meeting, and that somebody sat in America and chaired that NEC meeting. And our constitution doesn't permit that. You can be outside the meeting premise and chair. It says you must be present. So if the national chairman cannot be present at the spot, he has to appoint somebody. So if somebody sits in America and chairs a so-called NEC meeting in Ghana, how can that be acceptable, looking at vis-a-vis our constitutional provision? So certainly what they are saying and claiming, and even today they are saying, is neither here nor there. It's not in our constitution.
Okay. So you released a statement debunking, the statement by Ms. Nabla. What is the next line of action from you?
Yes, our next line of action, we had our disciplinary committee that took on our grievances, and then they sat and concluded last 2 weeks. So last week Friday, we called a standing committee to approve of their recommendations, and their recommendations were that what was held in Kumasi was null and void, and they sanctioned all those who went. The regional chairman, they gave them the benefit of the doubt because most of them are not literate, so they are always misled by their secretaries. So they were asked that, they were asked to be cautioned. The Greater Accra Regional Chairman was suspended because he holds himself out as the leader and the acting national chairman of the party. So you look at it and you see that it doesn't go. Even in the event that I am not there or the national chairman is not there, it is the first vice chairman who takes over. That is our constitution. She was elected at Congress. You can't just go and constitute yourself a group of people, maybe whatever is holding you together, nobody knows. Then you call yourself a neck. Then you announce that you have sacked people. How do you sack people like that?
Mr. David Apasara, thank you so much for talking to us here on Newsnight this evening. We'll definitely come back to you for some more. So that was Mr. David Apasara, the 2022 flag bearer of the PNC. We're taking a break. When we come back, we do business news. Welcome back. Up next is business news. And in business, the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yao Amoatene-Free, has called on Ghanaian investors to take advantage of the benefits available to them at the GIPC. According to him, the establishment of GIPC is not for foreign investors only, but for local businesses as well. He said this at a GIPC media orientation workshop here in Accra.
Ghana Investment Promotion Center organized its second edition of Media Orientation Workshop for journalists. This is to enlighten journalists on its operations such as retaining investors, technology transfer agreements, and registration compliance rudiments of the GIPC. Nalamle Olans Lindsay is the head of legal services at the GIPC and has been speaking on the relevance of technology transfer agreements.
TTAs are even more relevant now than they were when we passed the law in 1992. This because the focus of the law is to make sure that local companies look as far as possible to getting their services in country and should only get these services out of Ghana if it's imperative for them to do so.
The Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yao Amoatene-Free, has encouraged Ghanaian investors to take advantage of the benefits available to them at the GIPC.
GIPC has a number of benefits and incentives that we have discussed during this morning's workshop. So if you are a local company that is into import and export, or anything that requires you to bring in machinery, there are certain incentives and benefits within our setup which will allow you to do business at a relatively cheaper operational cost.
He expressed a mixed reaction on how investors are responding to the current economic situation of the country.
It's difficult. It's a mixed picture. Our traditional sectors still is getting the kind of investment that we require. So I wouldn't want to stand here and say that the picture is extremely positive. It's a mixed bag. We recognize that we are coming out of the ravages of the pandemic, and I want to emphasize on that again. And we are proactively working to pivot GIPC and Ghana as an investment destination.
The GIPC has advised Ghanaians not to front foreign businesses to flout registration requirements.
And now the Pig Farmers Association of Ghana says from May 15, pork will be sold at 15 cedis a kilogram for live animal and 23 cedis for a kilogram for carcass at the farm gates. Speaking at a press conference in Accra, the association says the high cost of feed for the animals is responsible for the increment.
Feed is the main item on any pig farmer's budget. According to farmers, maize, which was sold at 56 cedis for a 50-kilo bag, is now 175 cedis. Again, wheat bran, which was sold at 160 a bag, is now 290 cedis a bag. Rice has also gone up from 17 cedis a bag to 55 cedis a bag. Meanwhile, prices of veterinary services and medicines have gone up by between 100 and 150%. The farmer says this is having a negative toll on their businesses.
The pig farming and processing industry has had several price hikes to our production inputs from last year, 2021, to date. Here are highlights of a few. The price of maize, which farmers used to buy at 56 Ghana cedis, has increased to 175 Ghana cedis a bag, which is more than 300% increase.
In order to keep their investment safe, the farmers have decided to increase the price of pigs at the farm gate. This, the farmers say, is the only way to keep farms working.
We are also advising farmers to put a stop to selling pigs without weighing. Every pig that leaves your farm, being it live or carcass, should be weighed with the weight per kilo, so that you don't cheat the customer and the customer also doesn't cheat you. It's very important you understand that.
Before the increment, a kilo of live pig was sold.
We're taking another break. We'll be back with sports, entertainment, and international news.
My name is Feo John Quarty, and it's time for sports. The board chairman of Premier Club Accra, Hasso Togbe Afede, has indicated the club will only sell players at the right time and when needed for both the club and the players' welfare.
We want to be a team that wins trophies. Let nobody think that House of Folk is going to become a selling club. No. We want to be a team that wins trophies. But when opportunity become available, we allow our players to take up those opportunities. And of course, the conditions for us having Salim signed by us permanently included availing him this opportunity to travel and further his career. And we are very proud that we are able to create an opportunity for a young player like Salim. We believe a lot of opportunities will emerge from what we have started under the Common Value Club Alliance.
Well, that's your sports. My name is Feo John Quarty.